Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Today we have our ePMP updates and open Q&A webinar with Sakid Ahmed, the VP of ePMP Business, and Bruce Collins, Director of Product Management for the ePMP line.
Thanks, Susie, and thanks everybody for joining today. We have quite a few things we want to talk about, and really what we want to do today is share the latest and greatest information about developments. I want to give you a quick update on where things stand with the ePMP 3000, and then we'll also give you a little sneak peek at some products that we are officially launching in about a week, but we can't help ourselves. We're going to talk about them today a little bit. So
too much excitement.
Yeah. So, and of course, yeah, that's Sakid here. So we have lots of time for questions as we go. So I think you see in the chat window opportunity to ask questions, and I'll be happy to take those as we go. And then, of course, this is all being recorded, and we'll put it up on the community so you can, you or your friends can listen to it later if you want to come back and reference something. So let's jump into it. I want to kind of give you a quick view of ePMP 3000, where we stand. The 3000's now been out in the market. We are seeing lots of positive responses from customers that have started to deploy it. We started shipping this back in December from our factory, and it's starting to hit the customers and our channel partners in mid to late February. So it's been out in the field for about 4 weeks. What's your thoughts, Sakid, on things you've been hearing from customers? You're pretty close to.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall we're hearing good feedback in general. You know, there's some excitement around the product performance. Naturally, one of the key topics that we're hearing a lot, both you and I, as well as our customers, is the arrival of backwards compatibility. So maybe I can give a quick 2-second update as part of our overall update. So today, if you go to our beta location for downloading software, you will see a 4.3 release that is a beta version to support backwards compatibility with our ePMP 1000, 2000 subscribers. So Force 190, Force 200, Force 180. But today there's going to be an update to that release, a 431 RC or 432 RC15, which will now bring the beta support for the elevated SMs, the XWXM platform. So while we're still sitting in beta, overall, you are now capable of using this beta software version for both our ePMP-based subscribers as well as the third-party XWXM subscribers. We hope to wrap this up and get an official release out shortly, but right now we're just kind of cooking it through beta and looking for feedback.
Yeah, so mostly customers that are deploying it today are doing this with greenfield applications, what we call greenfield, which is effectively an ePMP 3000 talking to either a Force 316 or Force 325, which are two 11 AC Wave 2 subscriber modules. So that's really the essence of the ePMP 3000, is that it has moved us ahead of the game on technology, which is using that Wave 2 chipset based on 11 AC standard. And what that really brings to the market is this 4x4 MIMO opportunity to get to wider channels. So we can, although you may not use it in every case, you have the option of going up to an 80 megahertz channel. Of course, most customers are using 40 meg channels or 20 meg channels. And then, of course, you get the higher modulation that, again, some subscriber modules may be able to hit that 256 QAM modulation, which will effectively help offload some of the demand on the sector. So even if you can't get a large percentage of your SMs up to 256 QAM, even if a few of them do that, it helps get those on the air and off the air faster, so that the rest of the sector performs more efficiently.
We certainly are seeing a good distribution of MCS9 subscribers. Well, I was probably the one that talked about 256 QAM not being that viable, but the reality is this new platform, especially the Wave 2 stuff, the overall sensitivity numbers are better. The C2I requirements are better. All in all, we're starting to see more higher ratio of MCS9, or even in some cases subscribers that may bounce between 8 and 9, but overall sector throughput is considerably higher because of the higher modulation targets.
What's the what are the size of sectors you've seen deployed with both the 2000 and the 3000?
Yeah, so depending on it, that's a very varied deployment scenario, right? The average when we pull like CN Maestro data, we'll see 20, 30 subscribers going all the way to 60 subscribers. Extreme cases on a 2000, I've seen 120, the max capacity in Latin America, where your packages are obviously very low. But there will be a video coming out very shortly that we did with eVirgin, one of our customers here, who's got 48 subscribers running on a 3000, and he's got some good data from before and after. So that video will come out, and hopefully will create some good noise in a real case scenario where a customer swapped from 1000 to 3000.
Okay. And then the other thing that we really talk about with the 3000 is that it extends all of the things that all the experiences learned through ePMP 1000, 2000. This is really the third generation, so it's a very mature platform from a software and feature set standpoint. And so what the 3000 brings along with it is that really best-in-class synchronization using this technology, using a GPS sync to do frequency reuse and channel planning. And it really helps to scale up to that 120 subs that Sakid was talking about. And then dynamic filtering to help in some noisy environments. And then, in the roadmap, we have support for this uplink beam steering option that can connect to the 4x4 MU-MIMO sector. It's the same exact piece of hardware that's used on an ePMP 2000, and that will be, you can reuse it or use the same hardware model with the 3000. How's that development coming along? That
development's coming along well. I mean, obviously, it's been a bit more challenging because of handling the 4x4 receive chain, but we are looking to release support for the VSA in the May timeframe. I do want to touch on a few other things real quick on the backwards compatibility side, and maybe there's questions coming in. There are some advantages that we did not highlight early on in the 3000 launch. The fact that your legacy subscribers, when speaking to a ePMP 3000, they're going to benefit from the 4 receive chains, therefore having a 3 dB additional gain in the uplink. So it's an uplink improvement. Simply swapping out a 2000 to a 3000 also gives you latency improvements. You'll notice that what used to be in a TDD ratio 15 to 17 millisecond is now 50% of that, which has an advantage for TCP performance, downlink, and uplink. So that's we're quite excited about that. And then under the hood, we also made some improvements around some codecs and coding rates with LDPC and the guard intervals. All of that will translate to a better experience. And we're already seeing that from our beta customers that put up a backwards compatible. So very early on in the 3000 launch, and even before the launch, I was highlighting some concerns around throughput hit. But what's turning out positively is instead of a throughput hit, we're actually seeing some advantages in a mixed network. So I wanted to pass that along, and as customers test the beta, we're anxiously looking for that feedback as well.
Okay, good. And then I guess you've talked about the backwards and forward compatibility. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. And then the last thing on this first slide is really around the total cost of ownership that we're targeting with ePMP, and that combines the scalability and being able to get a lot more subscribers in the same amount of spectrum, but it also applies to the backwards compatibility and not having to throw away the 11N or devices as you migrate forward, or even on some of our competitors, 11AC Wave 1 devices. We're fully ready to go forward with MU-MIMO as the technology evolves. And then, of course, we have this standard 3-year warranty on ePMP. So that kind of all rolls together into you make that investment in the ePMP platform, and it really it pays off over time as you get the support directly from Cambium, you get the 3-year warranty, and then all of this investment-proof technology. So there are some questions coming in. There was a question about getting access to that beta software. If somebody wants to try out the SM backwards compatibility.
Yeah, all they have to do is go to the beta download site.
So it's on the support.cambiumnetworks.com, and there's a tab for the released software, and then there's a tab next to it for beta software. So you should be able to get it from there. You can also always post questions on the community, and people will point you in the right place to go there as well, the exact URL. There's a what version? These are good questions, so keep them coming if you have questions. What version will be used with the ePMP 2000? Oh, actually, this is so this is a good question. What's going to happen with ePMP 2000 and Force 180s? I'm happy, everything's going great with that sector. What's the software roadmap or plan for that?
So today, the latest and greatest software for your ePMP 2000 portfolio is 3.5.6, which I highly encourage everyone to use because there was a long-standing issue around some traffic getting stuck that's addressed in 3.5.6. But what we're trying to do is we're bringing the benefits of 4.3 or 4.2 release, 4.3.2 release, all packed up back into 2000 and 1000. So what you'll see is everything merging to a 4.x release in the very near future. So some of those improvements we talked about, LDPC, short GI, all of that is going to get rolled into the 2000 network as well. But stand by for that. As you can see, we are kind of slow rolling the backwards compatibility, forwards compatibility, partly because we recognize the fact that it's you're running a commercial network. We simply can't afford issues in the field. So we're just thoroughly testing, getting data feedback. But forward compatibility as well as an updated version for the 2000 is what's coming next.
Yeah, so the short answer is that if you're deploying your 2000 and you're putting Force 180s or Force 190s or Force 200s on that network, everything's going great. There's no absolute must that you migrate. You can, the software is going to keep evolving to provide feature enhancements and updates to that network as well. But you always have that migration path forward. So you've got several options there. You can either migrate your access point forward, or you can start migrating your subscriber module installed base. Or if you're happy with what you have, you just keep going and keep deploying what you've been deploying. There's another one which is a little bit of a technology question on the ePMP 3000 is, what do we think is the feasibility to do 5 meg or 10 meg channels on an ePMP 3000? Is that something that we would ever consider?
Right, so ePMP 3000 does and will support 5 and 10 megahertz. The challenge is that the subscribers, the Force 300-16 and the -25, inherently will not support 5 and 10 megahertz. However, we do have a panel antenna-based subscriber that's about a 19 dBi gain that we will be introducing in the near future that will support 5 and 10 megahertz. Naturally, we position the 3000 as a high bandwidth product. So our view has been that if you're going to want 5 and 10 megahertz, it makes sense to use the 2000 platform because 5 and 10 megahertz, there may be some limitations on multi-user MIMO and higher modulations.
So there's another question on compatibility here. It's at what point will a Force 300 subscriber module be able to talk to an ePMP 2000?
So this is what we define as forward compatibility. We have it working and it's in our beta, a closed beta. It's definitely the next update you'll see in 2 to 3 weeks where we'll release the forward compatibility. Right now we're releasing backwards compatibility, then the elevated units, and then the third piece of the forward compatibility, which you'll see within a month.
Let's shift gears, and I see some more questions coming in, so I'll get to those in a moment. So if you have more questions, put them in, and I'll come back to those. But I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about Elevate. What's the status of Elevate, and how does that work as we migrate to the ePMP 3000 environment?
That's a great question because there's two aspects to the licensing as well as the Elevate units themselves. So if you go to the beta site, what you'll see is 4.3.2 RC15 release will support the elevated units talking to a 3000. If you happen to have a flexible license, then you don't have to do anything. Your elevated subscribers will continue going to the database and pulling licenses. If you have a fixed license on a 2000 that you want to transfer to a 3000, you need to call our support team and they will do the reattachment of the license to a new AP. Just like you would if you had to RMA an AP and translate it, you don't have to wait too long to transfer a fixed license. But if you have a flexible license, you should have no challenges.
And just for those that are new to ePMP on the call, which are the types of devices that we support with Elevate and
Right. So it's a long list, Bruce. You will see a post on our community if you do a search for Elevate devices. 5 gigahertz, we have almost 40 or so devices supported, as well as in 2.4, there's about 20 or so devices. So everything from your Power Beam or NanoStation, Loco, AirGrid, a huge extensive list. So I highly recommend just taking a quick look at our community for that list.
And then, last, just on the commercial side, last October, we did announce a new lower price point on those. So you can upgrade or you can elevate devices at a lower price point. That went into effect last October. And then we also have a...
Sorry, Bruce, so the lower price point is, can you elaborate a little bit, just so that we're 50% discount?
It was half of the previous price. So it's pretty cost effective, especially when you're basically saving your investment that you made in the older, those legacy products, and as you migrate up to a ePMP 3000, you're bringing those forward. So,
and that actually we should talk a little bit about that, because I think the paradigm has changed for the better. If you think about running an 11N only network from our competition, and you elevate, and now that 11N product talks to an ePMP 2000, you're getting the benefit of moving to ePMP. And everybody that's familiar with Elevate knows that. So you're getting this huge benefit. You're getting frequency reuse. You're getting all the advantages of ePMP, doubling, in some cases even tripling your throughput on that sector, which is long proven, established fact that elevated sectors do tremendously well compared to legacy hardware. Now, if you fast forward, by allowing elevated subscribers to talk to an ePMP 3000, we're about to give you another boost. Now that 3000 AP has lower latency, has a 4x4 uplink receiver, which means that elevated 11N subscribers is going to have better uplink, and even on the elevated units running our ePMP software, we just gave you another boost with LDPC, short GI, and that's going to help positively. But now if you fast forward even further, all of a sudden your AP switched to AC Wave 2. Your subscribers that were legacy 11N just went through 2 stages of improvements. And you've really extended the life and got your network ready to move to an AC platform. So I think the message I'm giving is, if you hesitated elevating in the past, now is as good a time to elevate, because now you can actually put an AP that's the latest and greatest generation of access point, not seen in the marketplace. A 4x4 MU-MIMO, working outdoor as well as it does, an AC Wave 2 platform is not there in the marketplace, period.
Yeah, that's a great point that I think was not necessarily planned for or recognized, but once we got there and realized that those elevated devices actually perform better is a real nice benefit. And we're continuing this promotion where you get 15 Elevate licenses when you buy an access point. So whether you buy an ePMP 2000 or ePMP 3000, you qualify to get 15 Elevate licenses. So if you have a sector that's running 15 Ubiquiti SMs today, you could elevate that, bring all of those across to the new technology, and then start from there, going into the future. So it's a nice, elegant migration path forward. Okay, so a couple other questions have come in about the roadmap. There's a question about what's the roadmap on QoS, quality of service?
So quality of service, we are working very diligently to introduce quality of service on point-to-point mode first. But the point-to-multipoint is very much right behind it. First focus being MIR. and then you're going to get the same 11N QoS systems. If I had to give a prediction right now, more than likely we'll have a late May, early June release with beta prior to that with QoS. This is an informal communication of dates. All I can tell you is it's a high priority. We're working on it. Development's underway. We're just baking it as we speak.
All right, good stuff. All right, I'm glad we're seeing all these questions. Now we're getting into we're really getting into the good stuff here.
This is where we get stumped.
Yeah. Well, here's one talking about Elevate and looking at some other manufacturers, and one that's mentioned here is Mimosa. And I don't think we have plans of doing anything with that. And there's a follow-on question, which is, would the ePMP work with as a using standard Wi-Fi device?
Not our 11AC product line. The 3000 portfolio. If you remember, in 2000 portfolio, we introduced this Wi-Fi mode, standard Wi-Fi, early on as a path to migration, which was not well received because in standard Wi-Fi mode, things just didn't work well enough. I personally know operators who chose to do a truck roll over running a standard Wi-Fi network. So that was in the 2000. If you want a Mimosa radio to speak to an ePMP product, then your best bet is to put the 2000 in Wi-Fi mode and have it talk to the Mimosa subscribers. In 11AC, we are not launching a Wi-Fi mode.
Okay. On the lines of Elevate, so someone's asking a question if they have an issue with trying to elevate a device. I really just recommend that you have two options. You can open a ticket with our support team, and our engineering team sees those tickets as if it's a new device or a new version of firmware that we haven't seen before. That'll come into our engineering team and they can have a look at it. But that's always the best place to start, is through the support ticket. You can also post a question on the community, and if someone's done that before, they'll likely chime in pretty quick. So community is always a good option for that. And there's a question about how do you go about getting those Elevate licenses?
Go to your distributor, right? Go to your distributor. They will, on your behalf, send an email with a MAC address, the wired MAC address of the AP, and we typically, within a couple of hours, issue an entitlement or a fixed license for your elevated devices.
And then someone is asking, I'll paraphrase the question here, but it's really around using fixed licenses versus flexible licenses and a concern about outages on the Flex server.
So two things. I think this is a fair question. We did have an outage over the holidays, Christmas, I think, that did impact a considerable number of customers. So when that happened, we took a corrective action on the license server side to increase capacity. It really was not a cloud access issue, not a storage issue, but rather a simple fix on the database side. So we made that improvement. But what may be more interesting for our customers that we did not advertise, in 3.5.6 release, we also increased the timeout from 1 hour to 72 hours. So now it will be 3 days before the AP drops any elevated connection if it cannot reach the server. So that nugget in itself should really strengthen, combined with the database improvements we've made. I have not heard any Elevate outages, and knock on wood, but we feel very confident with the overall solution that we have on Flexible.
Okay, good. So I think there's another. The last question that we'll move on from Elevate is really around. I think it comes back to which OEM devices do we work with, and so it's recommended to go to the Elevate release notes, and you'll see that list of supported devices. We only really consider adding new ones on a case-by-case basis. So it would really, if you have one that you're quite interested in, put it on the community or drop me an email. We could, we consider it, but really on a case-by-case basis.
I'll say this real quick because we made some noise about this. There was support announced for the SXT5 Lite device. and it was out in the market. Some customers have updated and liked the results. However, in a few cases, we ran into some challenges with the radios becoming inoperable just because there was differences in flash and memory. We have recovered from that. You will see in the near future some more definitive announcements around which MikroTik devices we support. So let's just say that we came out with support, but then we kind of stalled. But we've recovered that, and we'll be coming back with most likely a 65 Lite, LHG, and the R5 DSC or discs. I forget the name, but there's going to be about 3 products. Beyond that, as Bruce said, it's really going to be case-by-case basis.
All right, so let's turn to the future and what's coming next. So I'm going to give you a real quick sneak peek at a new access point that's coming out. We're going to actually officially announce this. You'll see it show up on our website with spec sheets and all the details next Tuesday. And then in 2 weeks from today, we'll have a webinar where we'll go into these new products in more detail. But we wanted to, in case you can't make that webinar, we want to at least make you aware that these are coming. So this first product is a 11 AC Wave 2 access point. It's really targeted at what I think of as small subscriber count or low density sectors. You might think in terms of, a lot of people talk about micro pops as an application. And you can see the picture here. It's a nice small package design. It's connectorized that will actually interoperate with those RF elements, twist ports, and it's an IP67 housing. So it's a really nice package for deploying in a micropop deployment. It is AC Wave 2. It is also 2x2 MIMO, so you do not get the full MU-MIMO support that you get with the full-blown ePMP 3000. But it does give you the benefits of AC Wave 2 in wider channel bandwidths and higher modulations. So it does give you those benefits.
Well, one thing I want to emphasize is that this is not the same path we took with the ePMP 2000, where the same hardware was made into a light and you could upgrade. This is different hardware than the full-blown 3000. And there's only one very simple justification. We did not want to pass on incredible costs to you if you wanted a micropop, low density, or in some cases high density Wave 2 access point. So the 3000L is different hardware from the full-blown 3000.
Yeah. Okay. So watch for more information coming on that one. We'll also have at that same time be announcing a new AC Wave 2 subscriber module, and that is a connectorized subscriber module. It's in that same housing I just showed you on the access point, but it is and it's an 11 AC Wave 2, but it is really meant for connecting to either dishes for longer range connections, or you can use these horn antennas. So it's a nice alternative in the toolkit to give you different levels of expansion. And then you'll also see that down the road further, Sakid referenced a panel antenna that's coming later this year. That's not what we'll be announcing next week, but it's coming down the road. So watch for more information coming later this year on that. I think, well, for those of you that are joining outside of North America, we also have a new 802.11n subscriber module. This is again a 2x2, so you always kind of have to keep track of 11 AC Wave 2, which is our Force 300 series, and then this is an 802.11n subscriber. It's really targeted at the most cost-sensitive of customers. It's for short range, so it has an integrated patch antenna at 5 gigahertz. It's about a 14 dBi patch antenna, and it does do all of the synchronization and everything. So you're talking about connecting this with an ePMP 2000 or even an ePMP 1000 for a very low cost sector deployment to expand your network. And we'll also be announcing that next week with a webinar to come the week after to talk about that in more detail. So quite a few things coming. These are the ones that are coming very imminently. And certainly if you have ideas for products or features, whether it's software or hardware, ideas, put them on this community forum, and we'd love to hear about them. And we always discuss and debate them internally here, and sometimes they make it into the product roadmap. Let me see, there's a couple of questions that have come in. This is a good one. Our marketing team would love this one. Why did we call it Elevate?
Because it elevates your network.
It only gets better, so Elevate.
Yeah. We were going to call it ePMP everywhere, but that was too long. Elevate turned out to be great.
And then on the on that 11AC 2x2, 11AC Wave 2 2x2 access point, the practical limit is that we're putting on that is about, the question is how many subscribers will that support? And so we're going to put that at 32, and so today it's at 30, is the maximum number of subscribers is 32, which given the applications that this is really focused at, which is micro pops and low density sectors, the nice thing about that product is you can put it out you can put up your main tower with 3,000s, 4 sector, lots of subscribers. But if there's a small village a little bit further out that you can't quite reach with that tower, you can put a micro pop in there and serve that. It still synchronizes with the main tower, and you can serve up to those 32 subscribers. Not saying in the roadmap we might expand that beyond, but for today, think 32 is the number for that. The other differentiation on that product, just to be clear, gets into more of the details, and we'll cover this all in the webinar in 2 weeks, is when you compare and contrast the 2000 with that device, the 2000 has that dynamic filtering, and it has the uplink beam steering capability, whereas this new 2x2 access point, because it's really targeted at micro pops, won't have the uplink beam steering. It doesn't have that dynamic filtering, so it's a little different application. All right, good stuff. Thanks for asking all the questions. It really helps us understand what's in people's minds when they see these new products.
We're gonna have to do presentations.
Yeah, yeah. We don't kill you with a bunch of slides either. So, let's see. Oh yeah, so that's a good point. Just to reiterate, the question was, can that low-cost subscriber be sourced? Okay, here's the question: can it be sourced inside North America for use outside North America? Well, not generally. It's really so the bottom line is it's not FCC approved, so you can't deploy it in the U.S. or it's not going to be IC approved, so you can't deploy it in Canada. So full stop, it's not deployable in U.S. or Canada. If you're a channel partner and you are deploying a project somewhere else in the world, then you'd follow your normal export rules for how you manage that. So it'd be no different than any of our other rest of the world models. So it would follow that same approach. Let's see. I wanted to hit. Let's talk about one other. Well, actually, 2 other quick topics. We've started to hear buzz, especially in the Wi-Fi access point area. You're starting to hear about, while we're talking about 802.11ac Wave 2, the indoor access point guys are already starting to talk about 802.11ax. Can you give us any thoughts, Sakid, on?
Sure.
You guys are always thinking, 24, 36 months ahead.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on AX?
Right. So first and foremost, I think AX is a super exciting technology. I think it's probably the biggest revolutionary step from the standards perspective that takes your indoor Wi-Fi, makes it way more suitable for possibly outdoor deployment, as well as making indoor performance better. So we're very excited about AX. And the huge advantage that we feel that Cambium has is that we've taken some big steps towards following the standard, but modifying, tweaking, putting our proprietary sauce on it. And particularly the fact that we bet on this multi-user MIMO concept. You'll see that in this industry, there are those that have bet on things like 1024 QAM or some proprietary ASIC solution. But really, this multi-user MIMO, whether proven by our CN Medusa platform and now 3000, we feel strongly is the right strategic decision. So now if you take that strategic decision and you follow the path to AX, AX brings in a 8x8 multi-user MIMO solution at a very attractive cost point because of the chipset. It has a alternate method of doing a dual channel 12x12 because there's a third radio. It has OFDMA. So with OFDMA, managing low throughput needs by allocating subcarriers for a particular low throughput need versus doing multi-user MIMO for allocating more subcarriers creates this tremendous flexibility. Naturally, 1024 QAM is part of it as well. So as we look at AX, we're really packing some exciting stuff because once again, getting to market first is not necessarily always the right strategy. Sometimes you wait for technology to stabilize. So with AX, the version 2 chipsets that are coming out of the market will start positioning us for downlink MU-MIMO at 8x8, uplink MU-MIMO, OFDMA, both in the subscriber and AP. So all in all, we're really committed. We're paying a lot of attention to the technology. The best news is that with 3000, and this is something we need to really, really emphasize for our customer base, investment protection. If you buy a 3000 today, and if you're deploying 3000 family subscribers, mark
Force 300s.
Yeah, Force 300s. And mark my words here. You can record this and play it back if I'm lying. When you put an AX-based access point, it will be backwards compatible and give you that 8x8 multi-user MIMO. The story does not get any better than that. If you had invested in 11AC Wave 1 product, which some in the marketplace calls it Gen 2, but it really is Wave 1, that inherently does not support the channel conditioning information you need to do multi-user MIMO. So I'm sorry to say, but if you've invested in the Gen 2 Wave 1 products, your path to multi-user MIMO does require a truck roll. But now's as good a time to do that truck roll. Join the Cambium bandwagon because we are going to protect that hardware you purchase and deploy today by ensuring that the AX platform is backwards compatible, giving you multi-user MIMO. And then just like 3000, you will take your time, wait for Cambium to come up with an AX-based subscriber, which inherently will be a higher price point than anything you buy today because as the technology evolves, cost targets go up a little bit. But then once again, case-by-case basis, you're going to replace that Wave 2 subscriber that you put in there and say, oh, I really would love to see OFDMA, possibly 1024 QAM at a half a kilometer, possibly other benefits of the uplink MU-MIMO and things like that. So I hope I'm getting this across that our strategic vision is all about investment protection. And
so yeah, so I think that you summarized it great. I think the scenario is if you've got ePMP 2000 access points deployed today, if you want to start that migration to the future, you can start deploying Force 300 when we introduce that forward compatibility. You'll be able to start putting a Force 300 SMs on that network. Then you can upgrade the access point to a 3000. And then in the future, when you update to the next generation technology, those SMs will come along and support the MU-MIMO, which is really where Cambium has made major proof points with MU-MIMO with both our 450M Medusa product, but now our ePMP 3000 product. So we've proven that MU-MIMO works in the field, thousands, if not tens of thousands. I'm sure it's way more than that. Yes. I don't know what the right number to quote is, but lots of subscriber modules out there working in a MU-MIMO environment. So really have to think about how are you going to what you're deploying today, 3-5 years from now. You want to make sure that you have that continual path forward, and we're laying that vision out here with the ePMP roadmap.
And can I just add that this is not just a Cambium belief that MU-MIMO is the way to go. We're obviously backed by a massive organization called the IEEE that thinks MU-MIMO is the way to take advantage of an access point throughput. So those who say MU-MIMO is not the way to go, I really challenge that because I think this is the right investment for our WISP community.
All right, so I think we're coming up towards the end here. Let me see if there's any other real quick last questions because I don't want to leave anyone hanging here. So I'll hit off a couple of the quick ones. There was a sector antenna showed on one of the slides. It was a 90/120, so that's the same antenna. It can just be deployed in either 90-degree sectors or 120-degree sectors. It's just really the roll-off in gain that occurs outside of 90 degrees that allows you to cover the 120. And that small 2x2 access point does interoperate or connect. It mates right to the back of that that sector antenna. It clips onto the back, and the cables are SMA cables. They connect right onto it, and it does have a GPS connector on it, so you can do synchronization with that access point, the micropod. Can we use the Force 300 subscriber modules? Can they all be used in point-to-point mode?
The Force 300 subscriber module, we plan to support point-to-point for it. Today it can, a subscriber, but the pure point-to-point mode is something that we're
still evaluating. Yeah. And then a couple of things coming down the pipeline that you'll want to just, we were really comment on them today, but you can look on our schedule for webinars. There's a request to learn more about CN Maestro Pro, and when can we get more than a week of graphing data. And I know we're all pushing for that. So I know that the Maestro team has a series of webinars coming up, and that's also a question you can ask on the community. I don't have the date in mind here. And I think similarly, CN Heat, which is a concept, a product concept that the team here is working on. This is really to do pre-qualification or predictive coverage of an area as a contrast to our link planner tool, which is really giving you a prediction of capacity and availability from point A to point B. CN Heat is a concept that looks at a geographic area and says, what are all the points that I can hit with the particular technology? So there's some webinars coming up on that as well. So keep your eye on the calendar for that one. And I think okay, let me read through this one quick here. Do we anticipate offering an Omni antenna with that 2x2 access point?
Oh, the 3000L.
Yeah.
So Cambium is not going to offer a 2x2 Omni because I think there's plenty of Omnis out there you can pick from. So we don't plan to offer an Omni.
And what about the 4x4?
Now the 4x4, we are working with KP Performance on a Omni that would be optimized for the 3000. So wait for an announcement, but we won't be selling it, but pointing you to that KP Performance Omni antenna.
All right. Can you synchronize a ePMP 3000 with an ePMP 2000?
Yes, you can.
Okay, and it's the same, using the GPS, and I think I'm paraphrasing their question here.
75-25 ratio, transmit power control, set all those settings properly, and you can sync.
So the one thing I'll just comment on the other 4x4 Omnis that are out in the market today, we have not qualified them yet for MU-MIMO performance, so we can't recommend anyone today to put another device other than our 4x4 sector. We just haven't tested any of them, and our focus has been on making the system work with the 4x4 sector. And then what Sakid referenced is some investigations that are going on with one particular 4x4 Omni that's not on the market yet. Right. So there's some there. You can't just stated roughly, you can't just slap an antenna on there and hope to get MU-MIMO performance.
Absolutely, absolutely.
System design.
And I want to emphasize that even more for the 4x4 because we've gotten some questions like, well, why can't I just put somebody else's 4x4? We're not saying this because we just want to sell you our antenna, but in reality, a lot of development effort has gone into the 4x4 Cambium antenna. The bore side separation, the angular separation, optimized grouping, that's the antenna we're choosing. That's not to say in the future we won't tweak more to support third-party antennas, but at this point, the 4x4 Cambium sector antenna is the best option to get the best benefit out of 3000. No ifs and buts about that.
All right, good. And then there's a question about sync sources, and really the ePMP 3000, the new 2x2 access point 3000L, they have a built-in GPS receiver, and then they also have a connector that you can put a an external tethered, we call it a puck antenna or a tethered antenna. So you have those options. And then in a software release coming up, we'll also support interoperability with that CMM5. So you'll be able to do that sync there. And then CMM5 uses the CN Pulse as its sync source. So you've got lots of options in the toolkit as far as that goes. I'd say the vast majority of ePMP customers are using the inbuilt GPS receiver.
Yeah, I just want to highlight that we also made a decision that might be interesting. Is we decided not to include the external puck in the 3000L, as some of our current customers know that there has been reports of LTE interference causing problems gaining GPS, and 9 out of 10 times removal of that external puck addressed that issue, because the lower gain patch antenna inside the radio is actually beneficial because it's picking up, it's super sensitive, but because the lower gain antenna is picking up less of the interference. When you plug in the puck, everything is magnified, and that is actually getting worse. So we have decided, hey, let's not add the puck, use the onboard. Rare cases where you think you have a situation where you need to use an external source, you can go down the path of CMM5 or order the puck from us, or buy a puck on the market that we can recommend.
Okay, thanks. And then I see we have time for one more question here, and I think it's a great one because I'm happy to see it. It's a customer that says they're brand new to ePMP. So we welcome you, and we're glad you joined on the webinar today. It says company's fairly new to ePMP. We've deployed 5, just ordered another 6. Using CN Maestro via the cloud. Does Maestro upgrade the elevates to the right firmware? So CN Maestro firmware updates. So we will do firmware updates on ePMP devices. What about elevated devices?
So once the device is elevated, it's just like ePMP. Right. From that point, we treat it just like any other ePMP. Yeah. However, if it's not a ePMP image yet, meaning it's pre-elevate, I highly recommend you use the elevator tool. Mm-hmm. You will find a ton of information on our community, documentation. It's a very easy script to use that captures all the config information of that pre-elevate unit, save it, rewrite that. So it is the smoothest method to elevate a unit for the first time. Once it's elevated, it's game over. It's a CN Maestro management system. If you have any further questions, just post a comment on the community. Well, Bruce and I will keep an eye on it, and we'll handhold you through the elevate process if you'd like. We can set up a dedicated 30-minute webinar to walk you through elevate.
All right, and and again, thanks for joining. I think the elevate. We are actually seeing this first quarter just wrapped up last Friday, and we're actually seeing a pretty big uptick in people elevating devices. So if you're asking yourself, well, do people really do this? Not only do they do it, but we're seeing an increase in the number of people doing elevate. So it's real. People are doing it all the time, and it's a great migration path to the 11 AC Wave 2 and beyond.
Yeah. If you ever want to know about customers that have done it, there's tons of customers with some places thousands of radios that have been elevated. So all in North America as well as internationally.
Someone just commented they have over 3,000 devices elevated. So great to hear that. Yeah. So anyway, with that, I want to wrap it up. I know I'll give you some time back, and I really appreciate everybody joining today. This was recorded, so if you want to pick it up later and go back and reference something. If you have a question that either you think of 2 minutes from now and you wanted to get asked or answered, I started a thread yesterday on the community referencing this webinar, so you can post it there or just start a new thread, and we'll take a look at those this afternoon. So anyway, thanks again for joining, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks on the webinar with the official launch of the new products that we have in the pipeline. So thanks, everybody.